Now follow me and see how I determine the points so that you do not make a mistake in drawing the top view in this specific case incorrectly. I'm projecting point 1 to point 1. From point 1, I'm projecting down to my top view. I need to get this distance. Remember that we've got an auxiliary view, then we have the front view, and we have the top view. So there's 3 views involved. The middle view, which in this case is the front view, is the view that we will skip. So we're going to measure from the auxiliary view, we're going to skip the front view, and we're going to then draw on the top view. So what I usually do is just simply to measure this distance with a circle, then take that circle and copy that circle in the top view. That distance, I've measured that distance. I've now skipped that one, and from the XY line I've measured that distance. That is going to be point 1. That's how I determine 1. I'm going to determine point 2. So I'm going to go from point 2. I'm going to project to point 2. I'm determining point 2, so I'm going to go from point 2 to my top view. I need to find the distance of point 2. I just use a circle. I go from this point to my point 2. I take that point 2 distance and I copy that distance in here from the XY line. From my XY line to that point is going to be the same as from my XY line to that point. So this is going to be point 2. So let's label it as point 2. So that was point 1. That was point 2. Look once again what I've done. I've measured 1. I've skipped 1. And I've measured 1. I've measured 2. I've skipped 2. And I've measured 2. We're going to do the same with point 3 and point 4. So from point 3, I measure, or rather start off with projection. I project point 3. I'm going to measure the total distance to point 3. I'm going to measure that distance. I'm going to copy that distance of point 3 from my XY line. I'm going to make a mark here. That is point 3, and I label it as point 3 because otherwise I can get confused if I don't do it immediately. I'm going to do the same with point 4. I'm going to project from point 4 to point 4. From point 4, I project to my top view. That's where I want to draw. I'm going to measure the distance from my XY line to point 4, but it would be the same as point 2, so I don't even need to measure. I'm just going to draw a straight line from that point there. A straight line, that's going to give me point 4. And I label point 4. That's how I get this 4-sided figure. Let's draw that 4-sided figure. I'm going to go from point 1 to point 2, from point 2 to point 3, from point 3 to point 4, from point 4 to point 1. That gives me the 4-sided figure on this side. I need to do the same here. I'm going to project. I'm going to project from point 1 straight down. I'm going to measure 1, skip 1, measure 1, but it's the same distance as this one, so I'm just going to draw a straight line up to that one. So that I'm going to label as point 1. I'm going to do the same with number 2. I'm going to project 2. I'm going to measure 2 distance. I'm going to skip 2 distance. I'm going to measure distance 2 from the XY line. This distance 2 is the same as that distance 2, but let's measure it anyhow. Let's put a compass here. Let's open the compass to that point. Let's take that same distance, measure that distance, keep this 2 here, measure it from the XY line. That is distance 2, so let's mark distance 2 and let's label it. Distance 2, label it. So I've got distance 2, you can see it's the same as that distance. Point 3 is going to be the same. Point 4 is going to be the same. So all that I really need to do is to project from this point to point 3 here. Because point 3 is on that projection line, I'm going to label that as point 3. I'm going to do the same with point 4, project 4. Straight down, project 4 across, label it as point 4, and now I can join point 1 with point 2, with point 3, with point 4, with point 1. That gives me the shape of this side. 2 is joined with 2, so 2 needs to be joined with 2, so I'm going to do that. And because if I look from the top, I can look straight onto line 2, I can join that one as a solid line. All outlines can be drawn as solid for now. Some of them might be wiped out later, so I wouldn't suggest you do it, but if you want to, right, go ahead and do it anyhow. My solid lines, I'm going to zoom in on this one just to show you the difference in thickness of lines. Right, you can now see that we have 1, 4 and 4, 3 as a faint line. And I now have this, all others as solid lines. It cannot all be solid lines. Some of them are hidden. So let's have a look. If I look at it from the top side down, I can see this four-sided shape, that one. So that's visible, which means that this is hidden, especially that from point 1 to point 4. Point 3 to point 4 is hidden. So this line and that line is hidden. So there we go, it's drawn as hidden. This line 4, 4 at the bottom is also hidden. If I look at it from the top down, won't be able to see it. So this line from point 4 to point 4 is a hidden line. So I can draw it as hidden, although we don't draw hidden lines, but let's draw it for what it's worth. Right, it's hidden. I'm going to take away lines that might obscure that hidden line. There we go. So that is my top view in its totality, unsectioned. We now need to find the section part of it. So I'm now going to wipe out all constructions and projections that I've done so that I don't get confused when I want to determine the section. Right, all lines are being wiped out that can get us confused. Let's determine the section. This point here cuts through the base. And I've learned in the past that when a line cuts through the base, the chances is almost 100% that it's going to cut through 2 points. The one in front, which in this case would be from point 3 to point 4. And the line that goes around the back from point 4 to point 1. So I'm going to project that line down. Now it looks like it could go through this point, and that one. Don't get confused. Look at what has been cut here. Line 1, 4 and line 3, 4. Not line 4, 4. 4, 4 here is only a projection line. So it's only 1, 4 and 3, 4 that's been intersected. So 1, 4 is intersected at that point. 3, 4 is intersected at this point. Now I'm going to go to the other section parts, which is this one. So we've got line 3 in front, line 3 is in front, and we've got line 1 at the back, and both of them are being intersected at this point. So I'm going to project this down, so we get two section points, this point as well as that point, this one on line 3, and on line 1. Right, so we've got 2 points, one here, one there. 2 points, one there. Carry on with the section line. There's another intersecting point. In this case, it's only one line that's intersected, which is line 2. So I'm going to draw a line from that point onto line 2. Now remember that I said 1 point here, 1 point there, 1 point there, 1 point here, and 1 point there. I'm going to join these lines with one another because those are the section lines. I can draw them solid from that point to this point. You can see from point 2 we come to the front on point 3, from 2 to the front on 3. From this point I go to my base. From that point it's been cut to that point. From this point I'm going to cut to that point at the back. From that point I'm going to cut to this point. Now let's see what part falls away. I've deliberately taken this out. You shouldn't do it, but I've taken it out to explain. On line 2, this part from the section line to that point 2, from this line to that point 2, that is taken out. So that line is taken out. Line 1 to point 1 in this position, from line 1 to that point 1 is the only part that's left. That part to the base is gone, so I have to take that out as well. So let me do that. That part is taken out. The same happens with line 3. So I'm going to do the same with line 3. That part is taken out. From the point 3 that we had up to point 4, that part is gone. So from 3 to this part is gone. So I have to take that out. That line there, that's gone. The same happens there. From this point 1 to point 4 is gone. So from point 1 to 4 is gone. That whole area from point 2 right up to point 1 and point 3 is gone. So point 2 to point 1 and point 2 to point 3 is gone. And in actual fact, it is on top of the hatching area, so it shouldn't have been there in the first place, so it's gone. So now what is my hatching? My hatching is this area here. You might ask what's happening here. It is this part that's still left over of the base. So that part of the base is left over. So if I now hatch this area, right, and I know that my hatching has got these lines in it, so I'm going to hatch from that corner to that corner, to this one, to that one, to that corner. That's my hatching. That's the top view, right? As I've said in the past, hidden detail is not asked, so I'm taking it out. That is my top view. That's what the top view should look like. Let's take out these lines. That gives you a perfect idea of what a top view looks like in section. But remember, do not take those lines away. You're going to need them to draw your right-sided view or the right view.